It is April. First, I will read this poem by Lucille Clifton. My wife wakes up, having forgotten. My closet door gapes wide. An idiot mouth, and inside all of the teeth are missing. She closes her eyes and weeps towards my space in the bed. Darling, something has stolen your wonderful shirt and ties. Second, I will tell you this. There was a big voice that sounded like nobody I know. The big voice said, "Go out and stand on the mountain. Something is about to pass by." I am in the yard that I grew up in. I am in my mother's rose garden. The rose garden is overgrown. The roses scratch me, but do not draw blood. I walk down the side of the mountain under the trees, down the path large enough for a fire truck. The hill can easily catch fire. I am spat out at the big clearing that overlooks the valley and another mountain that has two antennas. As a child, I would always ask my parents, "Please take me to the other mountain to see what the antennas do." And I think one day my dad actually tried, but we couldn't find our way to that mountain. We somehow ended up by the ocean. My dad said the mountain must not exist. I found this acceptable, having just learned about rainbows and having just found myself at what I thought was the end of one, but the end seemed to stretch forever. I was beginning to understand that there was most likely no end to the rainbow, and so mountains could also not exist. Besides, having to go to the top of the mountain was enough to please me until we moved. Anyway, I am walking, and the big voice is hurrying me along. I'm remembering all the days I would spend with my dog, chasing me up and down the sunburnt yellow hills. Sometimes I would stand on top of the mountain and think what I might have looked like standing to someone else standing on the larger mountain that we are still not so sure exists. On my mountain and in the valley, there were two types of trees, ones that belonged to the hills and ones that belonged to the valleys. The trees on those hills had a barbed leaf which made it impossible to walk barefoot through the tall grass. A portion of the trees in the valley were eucalyptus. An arborist had found a way to contain them. I couldn't really see the eucalyptus, but when the fog came in the morning, I could smell them as they saturated the air and moved into my lungs, which were bad by birth, but felt better in the fog. Still following the big voice, I breathe in and it itches my legs, which are definitely mine, but have big patches of white on them, as though the small dots of white that are really currently on my legs have become the vitiligo my already light mother is currently trying to hide. Can our blackness slip away from us if those looking upon us do not see that we are black? I cannot be sure. I keep walking. The big voice said, "Agitate the muscle." I keep walking. You are suddenly walking beside me. You look at me and smile as though you've been there the whole time. The big voice says, "Pick up your lover and look her in the eye." I pick you up and try to look you in the eye, but you put your head in my collarbone and you close your eyes and you moan softly. Maybe you have fallen asleep. I think how you must also think you are home too, because eucalyptus belongs to the continent that you are from and not the one that I am from. We keep walking up the hill. At the top, the big voice says, "Look down in the valley." In front of me, in the valley, a great and powerful wind has torn apart the mountain and shattered the rocks. The big voice says that something is not in the wind. "Rindon, rock your hips. You have been standing there for hours." The big voice is not being kind, matter of fact. It does not really seem like there are any facts. I wonder if Trump is still president, as though that would affirm my existence in this setting and the big voice and the lack of facts. I rock my hips and you hold on. I cannot believe that I can hold you for so long. Maybe I finally kept up with my tea or my push-ups. After the wind there is an earthquake, but the big voice says that something is not in the earthquake. I catch a smell of your armpit and I close my eyes. If this is a dream, I do not want it to end. After the earthquake comes a fire, but the big voice says that something is not in the fire. There's a great deal of smoke. I can still see and I can still breathe. Your eyes are still closed. After the fire came a gentle whisper. When we hear it, the big voice is small now, and it asks, "What are you doing here? Where have you been?" "Well, I'm holding my lover, and we walked through a forest, and we did not say a word. Black is a color that absorbs light. There is an antenna in the backyard of the house that you grew up in, where your parents still live. You call me one day, or send me a video. There are loud birds, which sound like screaming adults, as they're running through the yards of suburban Sydney, or wild humans, or something like this. They drone on in a din. Antennas can be many things. Here are some examples. A transducer designed to transmit or receive electromagnetic waves, a Romanian television channel, one or more pairs of appendages used for sensing in arthropods, a satirical 1969 Dutch film directed by Adrian Ditvost, a Portuguese public radio station, an American indie rock band, a Spanish terrestrial television channel, the name of two colliding galaxies, NGC 438 and NGC 439. When you were in your 20s, you worked in the center of Australia, where the earth is red and the eucalyptus trees have bleached white bark. I did not believe you, so I googled it. It was true. One night you told me about all the different types of eucalyptus there are in Australia. So many, it's hard to figure out which species is which, or which species have inbred, or why any of that matters. I'll leave the door open for myself. I've been preoccupied with you for 2 years now. I saw you read your novella on a stage at an old gay bar in West Berlin. I remember thinking, who is this beautiful woman who writes like Don DeLillo? And later, I remember thinking, I need to stop comparing women to famous white men. Virginia was right. If Shakespeare had a sister, she'd have killed herself. Octavia Butler was an only child. Riddle me this, then. If they have created the only system we have for naming and placing, how might we exist outside of that system, especially if, as we are making new things, we cannot use the tools we have for naming to name? Apparently kids in Baltimore use yo as a third-person pronoun. Anyway, I somehow, after the reading, got your number and spent the rest of the summer trying to spend time with you, dating you even. Who is this Sarah, I would wonder, making my art, writing poems, pointing mirrors toward trees, waiting for circles to arrive on their branches? Eucalyptus trees show allelopathic effects. They release compounds which inhibit other plant species from growing nearby. Outside their natural range, eucalyptus are both lauded for their beneficial economic impact on poor populations and criticized for being water-guzzling aliens. Late at night, you're back to me, my nose in the nape of your neck. I can smell just about all of you. You ask me what love is, and I say that it has something to do with longing, or something to do with longing for someone when they're with you, or something even more coherent, and you say, I think love is some form of preoccupation. I've been thinking about this all the time because of the punishment you've instated as a result of the fact that I spent all of last year hurting you. Every time I say I love you, you say nothing in return. Sometimes you smile and look down as though to imply maybe you loved me, or you definitely did love me, but who could love a monster who can be one day so kind and then the next day so cruel? On the phone at some point you say that you wonder why we keep talking to one another. You say that you keep pushing me and maybe there is no point. Who wants to challenge the lazy conventions instilled in me by my parents and the subliminal messaging of Nickelodeon and the WB? I left you for someone I thought my parents would like. At night, alone, not sleeping, I think about how much I miss you, but I cannot say that aloud because my mother is so happy that I am dating someone who looks like my mother. I eat out all the time. And I spend too much money and make art that is political and one-sided, and I write poems which are complicated and all secretly about you. I have many days when I wonder if I should just put a hole in my head or stay in bed. They have an uncanny ability to be used to drain swamps and thereby reduce the risk of malaria. In the year that I am hurting you, I don't call you until too late on your birthday in April. I yell at you, and you cry and cry. I do not know why I do this. Even when I am doing it, I am not sure why I am doing it. I am praying to not say your name in my sleep. What I want to say is I've made a big mistake, and I miss you, but I am stubborn because of all this Capricorn in my chart. I hate myself for thinking about you when I fuck her. What does it mean to be woke? I get so tired. I misunderstand the messages. How Freudian. Why am I dating someone who looks like my mother? Do I look like my mother? I wonder if maybe my reckless period, which lasted too long and resulted in 6 concussions, really did cause that brain damage my doctor was so worried about. Hadi messages me to tell me some things of April. He has a photograph which is 4 pieces of paper, which together are as big as a body. The photograph is called Candling Eyes. The joke of the photograph is, one day, people asked Haji when his birthday is. Haji thought for a couple of minutes and said, April 26th. People asked which year. Haji said, every year. Then everyone laughed. The first use of preoccupation was as a form of rhetoric, in the sense of anticipating and meeting objections beforehand, from Latin to seize beforehand. Or grab me from behind, or keep rocking with a hand on me, or I'm gonna watch this tape for the rest of my life. I have never been held so tight. I have never held so tight. Is there a word for the emptying and refilling of a name? Like I was a goddess, and now I'm a terrorist. Hadi adds another piece to his messages about April, a poem by Edna St. Vincent Millay. To what purpose, April, do you return again? Beauty is not enough. You can no longer quiet me with redness of little leaves opening stickily. I know what I know. The sun is hot on my neck as I observe the spikes of the crocus. The smell of the earth is good. It is apparent that there is no death. But what does that signify? Not only underground are the brains of men eaten by maggots, life in itself is nothing, an empty cup, a flight of uncarpeted stairs. It is not enough that yearly down this hill April comes like an idiot, babbling and strewing flowers. Now that sometimes you allow me back in your bed, I fall asleep immediately because I am next to you, and that is so soothing that I never have trouble sleeping, but I want to stay awake so that I can be near you, because when I wake up, I will be one day closer to leaving you, but I can't stop myself from sleeping because I'm so calm being near you. This is just the sound of my head hitting the ceiling over and over again. One of my first memories is going on a run with my mother. I was in a stroller, she was running. We were in the valley. We exited a grove of eucalyptus. We were greeted by a deer, crucified, cut open on a fence. When I get older, my mother tells me it was an omen for nothing. The generic name for eucalyptus, is derived from the Greek eu, well, and calypto, to cover. My mother should have called me April. I'm so sorry about last year. I think I was dreaming. Here's a home that we could have. I could build it. Or we could build it together, but I know how your hands hurt sometimes, and so maybe I will just build it and you can tell me stories while I build it. The home would be by the ocean, with cliffs and water on one side and a series of walls on the other. The home will be shaped in a semicircle. The walls will be shaped in a semicircle. The outer wall will be very tall to keep bad things out. You won't like this wall because walls in general make you uncomfortable. But I told you already how much I wanted to build it, just in case something happens, and while you were perturbed, you let me go on, because I think maybe, secretly, you do still love me, because who would entertain mindless babbling about a house with big circular walls if they did not, maybe, want to live in it themselves? And anyway, about this big wall. It is not safe for me in my country. I do not travel late at night alone, and I do not make loud noises, and to get to sleep at night I have to lock all the doors and windows and check them twice, and they keep stopping me when I try to get on the train and ask me, what am I doing, boy? Anyway, there will be this big wall that you don't like, but it will be very tall and very big, because I will cover it with ivy and jasmine. Then I will plant eucalyptus in a large circle. Then I will build another wall. Then I will plant flowers of all kinds. Then I will build another wall. It is inside of this wall that we will do our living. We will have a big house with courtyards and many levels. We will both have big studios filled with light. Yours will be up very high so that you can see above all the walls and the trees, and so that you can be left alone to talk to yourself while you write. I will build you an elevator in case your feet hurt and you do not want to take the stairs. In my studio, I will continue to make monuments to you and to our family. We will have 18 kids, because then we can have 2 baseball teams. They will play for our amusement and for our own. This will also appease our favorite game of baby naming. So far, there will be Bo, Black Michael, Noor, Freak, Collaboration, Kodak, Leica, Holiday, Neither, and Swolf. We will grow all our own food and be vegetarians, except for the turkeys that we will keep, that we will call Christmas and Thanksgiving. We will eat them on Christmas and Thanksgiving. We will be very happy and spend our days reading books to one another and telling our children all the wonderful things about being alive. Some of these things include swimming for many hours and smelling fog and listening to A Love Supreme on vinyl. Our friends and family will visit us all the time and tell us stories of the lives that they are living. Sometimes we will pack up both baseball teams and go visit our friends and family where they live, but I assume most of the time we will spend by the sea, listening for the birds and our baseball teams. Hadi asks if I think April is the cruelest month. I say I don't think so. Hadi says I think we are cruel, not April. To lean one's head against a blind is an obvious admission of weight. I worry all the time that our planet will abort us. I wonder if my semicircular walls in the sea will protect us. MPA says our planet is designed for Earth. Are we still from Earth if we keep naming one another alien? A public form of accountability. The thing that was supposed to happen, happened. I love the sway of your hips. Milo and I talk about how we probably should not have children, or we should adopt children, but we should not have them because the world is ending. But the idea of you pregnant makes my heart ache in happiness. The idea that there could be someone that looks like you, who I know for their entire life is intoxicating in a way that I assume is simply biological. But how could I ever help you make such a person? Hold your hand in an office? On warm days, eucalyptus forests are sometimes shrouded in a smog-like mist of vaporized, volatile, organic compounds. If wishes were horses, beggars would ride. Let's say I'm Patrick and you're SpongeBob. When you ask, what do you do when I'm not around, I answer, I'm just learning new things so that I can tell you about them. I'm waiting for you to come back. All we are seeing is some amalgamation of what we expect to see and what is happening before us. What is actually happening before me? You want to move, and this makes sense, but I will miss how light comes through your window, unrelenting. You also like this, as your heating bills are cheaper, but I like this because you and I can lie in the sun and read books all day long, without having to put on any clothes. On your floors, reclining, creaking at odd moments, and breaking apart in others, I think, who needs a castle? When your bed was by the window, and I came to visit you in November, we would fuck in that sunlight, eating your pussy for hours, sweaty and drinking, breathing, or something. In the time that I am not with you, sometimes I have dreams where all that is happening is that my hand is inside your pussy, and you are coming, and I can feel your muscles contract around my fingertips. Was this taken from a plane or a building? Nudity does not reveal. We were the first to study silence. That is progress. A snake eats its own tail to die. The gut is designed to produce crap. I keep lying to myself. I would like to stop. What do you say? That we're going outside. We're going over a bridge. What is a bridge? Something that takes us over water. What does that say? You can't lean on the door. Well, that guy is leaning on the door. Well, you aren't supposed to lean on the door, but he is. I don't see it outside yet. It's coming up. Will that guy fall out the door when we are outside? I hope not. Me too. We are only living because we are not dead. You know how I feel about you. Please, let's start again. Your pussy tastes like water, but a particular kind. This is the type of water that I mean. Let's say you've been inside eating grapefruit with salt on it. Let's say that it is warm outside and the sun is out, but suddenly a large cloud comes and it has begun to rain, just on wherever it is you are, but you're inside. Let's say you've been moved by this natural phenomenon, so you open the window wide and stick your whole torso out the window, you open your tongue flat, you catch the drops, which are large and heavy, into your mouth. Every now and then, you return your tongue to your mouth, and the large cloud dissipates, but it is still raining, and the sun is warm on your face, and there is a little bit of rain left, so you open your mouth again. I do not like the present. When something lives in the eye of your mind, you can go over it, shine it like a rock, or you can look at it once, throw it in a corner. It hurts to be alive, but only dead poets know how it would feel to not be alive. Persist. A+. Mary Ruefle, who is still alive, said in her poem, I hated childhood, I hate adulthood, and I love being alive.